Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Monday. Give me 1 second while I check my mic. Make sure I'm all good. All right. Super. Happy Monday. Oh, yeah, we are. Give me 1 second while I check. We sound super crispy. You see how I look right here. All right. Look all right. All right. Got the iPad here. All right. This is what we're working on today. All right. Let me see if you could get a good view on that. All right. So, good episode today. Today is what is it? It's like Christmas Eve. It's the eve. That's Christmas Eve. So I already know today everybody is out and about, scattered. Actually, us, as soon as we're done here, as soon as we're done with the live, all right, I'm gone because we got some Christmas stuff to take care of ourselves here. But of course, can't start the week, right, without doing some good embroidery training. I already know that I'm pretty sure everybody that owns an embroidery machine or even whatever type of garment decorating you're in, November, December, right? That's like Super Bowl month for us. So I already know around this time is when things are like starting to slow down, right? The the chaos is finally settling down. I know for us, last week it was supposed to be chilled last week, but it's always last minute. People are trying to get their orders last minute. So I already know where everybody's, if they're not here, I already know where they're at. All right. Because we already know it's travel time, last minute gifting time. Uh, so it's all good. If you're on the replay, all right. Actually, I have a little present for y'all. Let me just put it in right here. All right. I got a free download. We're going to work on this file. All right. This file right here. So I'm going to put it, I'm like setting all this up right now. Class download. So I'm going to put it in the description. Class class download. All right. Cool. All right. Sorry for the. All right. Bam. Got that. Got that. All right. Looks like we're good. Give me 1 sec. Save. Bam. All right. For today's file, you could follow along. You could stitch this out. This is a 3-inch height. All right. So I know a lot of people are scared, nervous, running their embroidery machine at 3 inches high. All right. Now I would suggest if you are going to download this file to do it on a flat. All right. Don't break your machine. I don't want y'all, especially if your machine is not set for above 3 inches for your hats. All right, but I did want to see how it looked on a hat. Looks pretty fresh, and I'm gonna add some stuff to it. Okay, see if I can get you guys a good angle right here. All right, I am gonna add more stuff. I'm gonna add stuff here on the side. All right, stuff here on the side here because it's looking real cool, real cool. All right. Um, the stitch out when I did the sample on a flat, I always sample out flat first. Make sure I'm like eyeing it like an eagle. Every stitch, I'm looking at it, making sure when I do my sampling, a couple things that I'm checking for. First thing, of course, I want to make sure everything is sequenced the way it's supposed to be. Okay, want to make sure my underlay, they're all set correctly. If there's anything missing, all right. I always walk around, all right, with notepad, just writing down stuff, um, checking underlay. Biggest important, most important thing is checking for gaps, any gapping. Make note right there. Sometimes we gotta pull nodes, all right. Um, and I'm just kind of look once it looks good on the flat, I kind of have an idea if it's gonna be good on a hat. So All right, everything looks good. You got the download now in the description. So later on today, tomorrow, after Christmas, or whenever, all right, stitch it out. Let me know um, how it comes out for you. There is some stuff I do want to go into the design for today. Let me pull up the design now. Let me make sure the link is good. Bam, bam, bam. All right, looks like the link is good. Bam, and then let me put the artwork. All right, and then as a FYI for the download, I did put it. I put it for the EMB. If you have Hatch or Wilcom, I put the EMB, the regular EMB for Wilcom, and then I also put a an EMB for Hatch 2 because I think last week some people couldn't open it because they have Hatch 2, so I saved it as that. If there's a specific format you want me to save it at, all right, let me know and I'll add it right there. All right, but let me just get this one. All right, this design here, I chose it because it's pretty challenging. Let me open it up right here. All right, let's see how it looks here. Bam. All right. So I like it. All right. What I call this, okay? What I call this activity right here. This is like shooting free throws, right? We already know we got to practice. People that play basketball, sports, uh they're not practicing during the game. They're all practicing when nobody's watching, when nobody's looking. This is the type of artwork that I like to work on when nobody's watching, when it's not a customer, it's like a self project. Okay, because something like this, if you can tackle something like this, you pretty much can tackle pretty much any job thrown at you. All right, it's kind of rare that a company is gonna give you something like this. If somebody gives you this type of job, it's more like a graphic designer, somebody very artsy. All right, not saying that there are some mascots that do look like this, right? But they're not as complex. And then when we look at this design, we can start shifting our brains to digitizer style. Okay, we can start thinking sequence, right? What goes first? What's on the bottom? What's in the middle? And what's on top? Like when we start looking at this file, okay, the colors. What route do we want to use all the colors, or do we want to kind of combine some of these colors? Because once we get into the shading, right, that's a whole different level there for the shading. You kind of see how some of the shading here. Okay, how complex do we want it, right? And the good thing about self projects, you pretty much make your own rules. All right, like we set our own rules. We have our own parameters, and we could push it as far as we can. All right, we could push it as far as we can, but we could scale it back because sometimes, there's certain jobs where it's just not feasible, it's not profitable. All right, or it don't make sense to put every detail from the design. All right. Okay, so this right here, so this is like my final. I kind of changed up the colors a bit. You kind of see how I changed up the colors. All right. There's some of the details I left, some of the details I omitted. All right, but you kind of see, trying to give you like different angles on this. Mm, all right. So it looks cool. Okay, cool, cool. Once again, if you just joined us right now, we got the download down in the description. All right, check it out, save it, stitch it out. And there's some stuff that we're gonna talk about that if you do stitch it out, I kind of want you to see it in live vision. All right. So quick shout out. Hey, how you doing? Eileen, Florida in the house. Chamira Customs, good evening. All right. TMG in the house. Byron, Lancaster. All right. Eileen has Hatch 2. All right, cool. So I did save it. I did put it in the Hatch 2 version. Jesse, how you doing? West Virginia in the house. DJ Kev, North Carolina. All right, right. Bam, bam. All right, Jesse, Merry Christmas to everybody. Today is Christmas Eve. So it's the eve of Christmas Eve. So we already know everybody's out and about. Jenny, how you doing? Cool, cool. All right. Let me see. Karen, Missouri. All right, cool. If you're catching us on the replay, all right, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like. Let YouTube know that class is in session. All right, bam, bam. We are good to go. All right, y'all ready to get this digitizing started? All right, bam. Let's go into the software. All right, so we got our cool line right here. And let's check out this size right here. We can measure him up. US, bam. So we're looking at about 3. Okay, 3 millimeters. Bam. There's some tools. All right, there's some tools I do want to talk about today. Uh, so today's episode is Digitizing 107. So this is the 7th class of this series. I'm doing a 10-part series. So after today we have 3 left. All right, this one here, I really wanna pull out some of the more advanced tools that a lot of our software has. And before I even start pulling out these tools, um, one thing about these tools, all right, they're very, very powerful. And we already know that with powerful tools, people can get hurt, right? And then in our situation, it's not people that get hurt, but our design could really turn into a disaster if we don't use these tools correctly. All right, so I do want to use some of these tools. Some of these tools we kind of talked about it in the before show, but today we could go in a little bit more detail and add a little bit on top of it than what we already know. All right, so a lot of this stuff, okay, it's not like you learn it and there you mastered it 100%. Even like with a project like this, there's certain tips, tricks, or um, special ways to approach the tools. All right, that's always learn. It's always we're always in a learning situation. Okay, that learning curve never ends. All right, all right, cool. All right, bam, bam. So when we look at this design, right? Let's look at this design right here. Bam, like where do we even start? Right? Where do we even start right here? Um, the way I see this, the way I like to vision embroidery. Okay, I like to um, compare it to like lakes and rivers. Okay, so when I see this, I'm looking at kind of like a mountain, like the outdoors. Okay, let's put it that way. The outdoors. That's what I see. I see the outdoors. Okay, and let's say like this orange part right here, right? So when we zoom in here, this orange part, this is like bigger areas, right? So when we're talking about bigger areas, I'm talking about kind of like the lakes, all right? The lakes. Even though when we measure this, right? Even though when we measure it, we're looking at about 6 millimeters. It's still possible for sand stitches, right? Especially down here. Okay, still possible. This part, let's say this part here, 13. Okay, might not be able to do sand stitches here, right? So this is a fill stitch. Um, so fill stitches, like our lakes, I like to compare it to the lakes. It's more like big body, all right? Big body. If we want to cover this area here, okay, the center of his chest here, we're not going to put sand stitches, we're going to put fill stitches. So it's the big portion of the body. So for example, here, this is the inside of his mouth, right? Big body portion in the picture. We're gonna fill it up with a fill stitch. And not saying that we can't use a sand stitch, because really you could do whatever idea you have, you can always make it happen. But in order to make it simple, right, we have to identify which is our lakes and what are our rivers. Our rivers is the details. So let's say this part here, all right, you see how it's coming down? Bam, it's coming all the way down, all right, and into the lake right here, right, which is our fill. So our rivers can be our sand stitches, and that's really, I like to save these for our details. All right, so look this here, right? We have this blue part coming down, details right here, sand stitches. And really it's the sand stitches that make the details. It's the fill really makes it, creates the size, but it's the sand stitches that really puts everything together and really puts the details. Okay, it's like the icing on the cake right here. Right here on the face, right here on the eyes portion, right, we have a ton of detail right here. What do we want to keep? What do we want to take away? Because we already know in embroidery we are limited on what we can do. We could mimic certain certain looks, but sometimes we're limited on what we can keep, what we shouldn't keep, right? And that's all judgment. That's all judgment. And with experience, you kind of get an idea. Okay, I want to keep this, I want to lose that. Or I know for me, anytime I'm digitizing, when I sample something, I'll keep some certain stuff and just see how it looks in a real stitch out. Sometimes it comes out good. Sometimes it needs a little bit more tweak. And sometimes it just doesn't work. It's like, you know what? It's just too much. Okay. But sometimes we won't know what looks good until we actually stitch it out. So sometimes it's good to try stuff out. Okay. All right, now let me kind of give you my view, the way I would digitize it. All right. Actually, I got the actual what I'm gonna do. All right. Let me just kind of give you the way we're gonna run it here. Okay. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna play the real one, so you have an idea of the steps when I'm doing it, when I'm doing the steps, how I came about. Okay, how I came about, why I'm doing it at a certain order. All right, and there is never a right or wrong answer. Like I said last week, what I said is if we give this design to 100 digitizers, we're gonna get 100 different files back with different trims, numbers of trims, different numbers of stitch counts, different numbers of objects, maybe different numbers of colors. All right, it's all uh, different styles. Okay, different styles. All right, so go ahead. Let me play. Let me show you the actual one. This is the one that you have um, on the on the download link, this is the one that we have. All right. So you can see it here. That's the actual. You see? Okay. Then when you add everything, bam. Right. See it? So you kind of see one thing that I'll just want to point out. You kind of see how our sand stitches, the black sand stitches, you kind of see how they shift in different directions. All right. That's kind of what I want to tackle today. How to go about shifting these into different directions. All right. This is really what gives us the, let me do this. Um, hide others. All right. To me, this is what really makes the design right here is these fill stitches, right? I'm not these sand stitches. Okay, which I compare it to the rivers. Okay, we have lakes and rivers. So the lakes, which is our fills, we usually say we have those in the beginning. It fills up the design. All right, unhide all. So let me push play. Let's see it play out. Okay, and then I'll give you kind of like a play-by-play of what's happening while I'm doing it. Okay. Okay, so we start off. Okay, this should look kind of familiar to some of y'all. This is our global underlay. This is a stitch, very important, especially for the hat. Okay, especially for the hat. This is flanning out our design. And you can see I made it black just because, hold on, let me rewind that. I gotta put trim so it could stop every time there's a trim. All right, that's another thing. Okay, that's another thing. Trims, for me, that's like my enemy. All right, that's my arch enemy right there. You can see here we have 13 trims. So every trim that we have, okay, and I always tell people to challenge yourselves, challenge your digitizer. All right, we could have easily got 120 trims on this design if we weren't really paying attention on what we're doing. All right. So trims, I always have it in the back of my mind. Make sure we're following a clean path. Okay. It's like it's like having Google Maps, right? We gotta have a clear path of our beginning to our end, especially when we're working with the same colors. Okay. So right here, I'm putting a global underlay, and I'm making it black since I'm stitching on a black hat. Um, it'll just kind of blend in with the background. Okay. I could have made it the same color. So the second color is going to be red. I could have made it red and saved that trim, but I'm okay. I'm okay with making it black just to blend in with the hat. All right. Bam, it starts right here. Okay. Um, then I'm going to do this outside border. All right. This is one that I thought about. Okay. Every step that I did, I kind of like thought about it. Like, should I move it at the very end, in the middle? Okay. Um, the reason why I put it right now is just because there's gonna be a gray fill stitch right on top of that. Okay, that's the only reason why I put it. I save my borders for the very end. Okay, we could speed this up a tad bit, and then I'll show you how I came about getting this border here. It was just a this one, the simple offset. Okay, it's gonna come here. Bang. All right, cool. Nothing too crazy right now. All right. Next one, this gray one. Okay, so this gray, what I have. So this is fill. You could kind of see where it says fill stitches going in one direction. All right, so just one stitch angle. That's what this icon means. You can see it like right here. Complex fills, what it's called. Digitized fill shapes with a single stitch angle. Okay, Last week when I did the alligator, I was working with the complex turning. Okay, this one I kind of kept it a little bit more simple. Okay, so start here. Okay, this is what I'm talking about where we're creating our the lakes, the fields of the bottom portion. This is the body of the design. Okay, some of this you could make it sand stitches. I just kept it as a fill. Right, and then it travels to the other side. Bam. Right. So this is all we're kind of just filling in the big body parts right now. Right. And then this is the orange portion. On the design, it's blue. Okay. Hold on, let me pull that up. Oh well, no, the this part. Yeah, it's orange. Okay. Bam. So we're just filling in big body parts. Okay, we're not even into the actual the sand stitches, the black ones. Right, bam. That's a big body part. So that's going to be the top of his head right there. Okay, just nothing too crazy. If we wanted to, we could have made everything on the top sand stitches, but just keep it simple here. All right, so we started on one side and we end on the other. Okay, bam. So we're just kind of setting up our platform. Okay, so now it's the white. Beat it up a tad bit. Cool. All right. You kind of see we're starting to put in some of this detail right here. So this was sand stitch right here. Right now it's the black portion. This is the main thing. So this is all, you can see how this is all being done without stopping. It's just traveling all around. We're going to control all these, and um, we're going to try to do it in a way that's a little bit time saving. Okay, time saving. So we did all that portion, right? All the details is starting to come together all with one trim, right? So we have a trim right here. And trust me, we could still make a walking stitch to the next one. All right, that's fine. Sometimes I'll just take the trim and just move it on up to the next one. So it's gonna start up here. All right, and then it's gonna jump to the next whiskers. All right, it's gonna do the tongue. Of course, the teeth, very important. The teeth. This one here. I had some of the lessons learned from the gator last week. Okay. The lesson learned was just to keep the gaps minimum so you don't see the jump stitches. Right. This design already had them close together, so it really didn't matter. Bam. All right. Put this little accent mark of the white part. And then here, one of the most important part is the eye. Bam. So you can see how it's, instead of making it a fill stitch, I have it two objects. This eye is two objects, is two sand stitches. Right? Just so you can see that V, it gives it the appearance, okay, of the eye right there. Bam, you see? All right. And that's 14,000 stitches. So you could see it's very stitch heavy for a hat or something that, but it's 3 inches. All right. So let's see what's the height. 2.973. All right. So we're working with a real good size right here. All right. Bam, bam. All right. Cool. So let me see what else I could other info. All right, so 13 trims, bam, bam. All right, cool. Now let's get to the actual design. All right, bam. All right, so what I want to show you here, all right, I want to show you the tools, some of these tools, very useful tools, all right. Last week, I think we talked about the branching. Okay, so we're gonna start with the branching, but then we're gonna work our way up to another super special tool. Okay, let's focus. Sometimes it doesn't really matter if you want to start bottom up. Okay, so fill stitches and then moving your way up, or opposite from the top on down. Okay, different digitizers have different kind of styles, the way the sequence that they do it at. Okay, at the very end, we could kind of move things around. All right. Sometimes I really don't have like a specific way I do it. Sometimes it all depends design wise. All right. So we're gonna just we're gonna do on this. We're gonna do 2 rounds right now. We're gonna do one. Okay. We're gonna start here on this part. Let me let me do a walking stitch right here just to kind of show you guys. We're gonna start here. Okay. This isn't the actual digitizing. This is just to kind of show you the route that I'm going to. All right, and then we'll probably take it from up here. All right, so we'll start from up to this corner. Travel, travel, put this detail here. Travel, travel, put these 2 details here. Travel, put this detail, and then stop here so we can continue to the next one. Okay, so really what I'm gonna do here, the way I digitize this one is breaking up the details. So the sand stitch portion, I'm breaking it up into sections. So right now I'm gonna start doing the middle section, I mean the bottom section, and then work my way up. All right. All right. Now let's get with the digitizing, the actual clicking. Bam, bam. So I start up here. Um, Reason why I'm starting here because this portion, like the nose portion or the mouth, it's kind of on top of this bottom part. All right. So this part, I'm using the column B. All right. I'm gonna break this part up into pieces. Now you could digitize it exactly the way it's designed. Sometimes you wanna kind of overextend on some of your designs just so it could stick out on the actual design. All right. Then here, oh, we could make it like this. All right. H, bam. Set stitch angles. Make this black so you can see it right there. All right. And then we're gonna blend this part up. Mm, yeah, we could just keep on going. All right. So I'm just gonna bypass this little detail here. I'm actually gonna take it all the way through because we already know the the branching is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. And right here. Right, and we do the other side. Bam. Right. So I'm just using different tools because you never know which one you're going to use. Sometimes I don't have like a preferred one. Usually, actually, this is the one I use the most. Right, black. Like right now, it looks all wonky, but Control H so I can set my stitch angles. You kind of have an idea of how your stitch angle should be running. Right. Bam. All right, so that part looks good. Now, let's go ahead and add these little details. See, like here, I'm gonna have to change that stitch angle because so I'm gonna kind of H. This one going under. I just changed the stitch angle a bit. All right, right now, okay, put that blend for this one. So I'm just looking for the, we call these the accent. Okay, so it's like under the actual sand stitch. Um, and then if we keep it real small, like real baby, it might get lost in this kind of this area here. So we'll kind of extend it a tad bit. All right, and we're looking for that merge. It's really that merging. I forget to set these sand stitches. All right, bam. Let me fix this up a bit. All right, right here, I'm just speeding it up, but I do have the file so you can see my actual tracing. Okay, bam. But I do want to show you this part, how I make this part as simple as possible. All right, so it's all out of order right now, and that's all good. We'll come back and fix this right now. All right, so just one thing I want to highlight is I want to have as much blend as possible. What I don't want, let me move this out here. What I don't want is something that looks like this. Like let's put it here, here, where it's like perpendicular to each other. Okay, something like this. Because if we got full perpendicular, like one side's going one way and the other side's going like 90 degrees to it, we'll easily get gapping in situations like this. Okay, because then this needle that's coming down here, it'll start opening up these threads right here. All right. So you kind of see a blend where I'm trying to blend it in a bit as much as I can. You're not gonna get a perfect blend, but at least you want to see a merge. That's the word that I'm looking for. You want to find good merging. Okay, so here, right, this is a good accent, a good good detail portion that we're working with. Okay, this is what really makes the design pop out. I do gotta switch to a sand stitch. All right, let's set the angles. Angles are pretty good. So you kind of see how I'm blending my way in. It's like a freeway. Okay, I always see it like a freeway. You want to make sure you're merging in there. You don't want it perpendicular to each other. All right, bam. All right, so this is this portion here. All right, so we have this bottom part ready to go before we move on to the next part up here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I can put this in order right here. Actually, I want these, the ones that I called. Bam. Okay, so I have them select. Oh, let me put them in order. All right, so I put them underneath. Okay. Sometimes it's important to let the software know what do you want under, what do you want on top. Okay, so here you kind of see where they're hiding, right? And the main one that goes from left to right, it's overriding, it's going on top of all of them. Right now I select, so I'm selecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My 6 items right here. Okay, and then of course we're going to use the power of branching, which is I. All right, but I'm trying to find it here. It don't matter. I have it. So I'm gonna push I. Oh, it's right here. Branch I. Okay. We'll push I. Down the bottom is gonna say, hey, enter your entry point. Where do you want to start? So I want to start up here on top. And where do we want to end? We want to end up here. Bam. Okay, just like that. Okay. Just like that. It created the path. The most efficient path. Well, I won't say the most efficient. Sometimes it's not efficient. All right. But just like that. Okay. So let's slow that down a bit. That came out super speedy. All right, so it's gonna walk its way to that first accent. Bam, knock that out. All right, now we can speed it up. Then it's gonna walk to the next one. Bam, knock that out. Look at that. All right, because if we try to do it one by one and we didn't really uh, look out for our trims, all right, it could have been real ugly right here. All right, then it's gonna close out. We can speed that up a bit. Then it'll just close up those. Bam, bam. Now it's ready for the next go around. Okay, or the next area. Okay, so now we're gonna take care of this bottom part, like his jaw and his jawline with these accent marks here. Okay, and then we're gonna trim. We're gonna actually take it all the way up to his ear. All right. If there's any questions, I'll get to the questions as soon as I'm done with this part here. All right. All right. Now, instead of the branching tool, we're going to use complex turning. All right, complex turning. This one, it can speed up your process even times 2. Well, I'm gonna say times 4 because I think the branching speeded up times 2, and this one here could even speed it up even more. Okay, now we're gonna let the computer do more of the thinking for us. All right, so let's set this up. Put sand stitch, black. And really what it is, here, I'll read it what it says right here. Digitize filled shapes with turning stitches. All right. So that's the secret right there. It's turning stitches, and you can see these stitches are all turning all day. Okay. And this is a two-part. It's gonna be this, it's gonna look ugly, and then we gotta do another, push another important button. All right, so all we gotta do, reason why this one is super simple and easy, because all we're gonna do is trace it. We're not even going to like think about, we're not even gonna think about cutting it up in pieces, all right, breaking it up in pieces. We're gonna allow the software to do a lot of that stuff for us. All right. Now sometimes we have to think like a computer. All right. We gotta think of what's the best way that this computer is gonna compute this. So we just can't blindly do some stuff. We kind of want to make sure we're looking out for the computer. And sometimes the computers, this is when it starts working like overtime, and you'll hear the fans turning on your computer. All right. And what I'm doing here, I'm taking it like super to the limit because I'm going all the way from one side to another. Usually you would want to break this up into pieces, right? But here I'm just taking it. So we're just gonna a good enough trace. We'll end it right here. All right. Now we're gonna come back. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back. Uh, or I know this part isn't the most exciting part right here, but you see, I'm gonna include like this little detail right here. Okay. Without even thinking about it. We could make it a little bit bigger if we think this size is too small. See right here, we're gonna include this part. All right. And the software is gonna go ahead and break up a lot of these little detail portion, the accent parts, into objects that we can use. All right, bang. That. So this is using the complex turning. All right. Softwares, most of the other softwares have this also. It's just called something else. All right. You can see here, like I kind of went above a little because this is a little too small. All right. So that's what I mean when I'm saying like look out for the computer software. Like think like a computer. All right. So I push enter. Point enter point one. That's if you're gonna make a hole somewhere in there. So we're not doing that. And our entry point really doesn't matter because we're gonna change it at the end. But we could say, actually, I could say, hey, I want to start here where I ended, right where my last stitch ended. And where do you want to end? And I actually want to end right here because I'm going to go down after here. Okay, this is the important part. Enter angle point 1. So this is where I'm going to set all my angles, my stitch angles. All right, bang. And some parts they're going to get like kind of complicated, but it's all right because we're going to fix it at the end. And once I set my stitch angles, when I push enter, like it's going to look ugly. All right, I don't know what it's going to, sometimes you don't even know what's going to happen. It's just like, let's see what happens. And the good thing is that a lot of this stuff is going to be adjustable. Okay. See what happens right here. Okay, bam. So we just kind of walk it out like this, how we think we're going to look. Bam, this right here. Right. This is where it's going to, right, because our stitch angles is going like a difference of 90 degrees right away. Right, bam. All right. All right, cool. Bam, we got mostly everything. All right, and push enter. All right, let's see how it looks. Okay. All right, so it looks right. This is what I'm talking about. It looks ugly in some parts, right? Some parts, right, like this part, this area looking a little wonky. All right, now what we're gonna do right here, see how it's not. So we're gonna select this and we're gonna use this part, the automatic knife, and this is the one that's gonna come in and start chopping stuff up. For the most part, I'm gonna say 90% of the time, it does a pretty good job. All right, it does a pretty good job. If it really doesn't come out good, either we could come in and adjust it, or we could just redo it with a. We can redo the trace with some minor adjustments. Right, but we're gonna push this. Oh, so the readout says slice large objects into smaller ones with automatic overlap. So keyword right there, automatic overlaps. All right. So let's see what that does. Bam. All right. Let's do this blue so kind of stand out a bit. All right. Now you see how it chopped it up into pieces now. Okay. Especially this one here. All right. See how it looks here. All right. This one, just so I could get a good visual, I'm going to break this apart. All right. Which I wouldn't do in a normal scenario, but here just to kind of point stuff out. Because if I break it, I could kind of show you certain parts. Okay, so I'm gonna break this apart right here. So like this, all right, it chopped it up instead of it going like stitch angles all ugly. All right, there's a good transition. All right, bam. Especially this one here. All right, this one, since it had a very sharp change of stitch angle. Okay, it just kept on going, and then it switched to the next one. Right here, bam, same thing here. All right, here, there's a perpendicular change, but I was saying that usually you'll have gapping if you have perpendicular change. But you could see how it, this overlap, it pushed in just so there's no gapping. All right, so it automatically looks out for that. All right, let's see here. Bam. All right, so it chopped up this little part. And then this part here. All right, that's fine. It's just we didn't put it bigger than what. If we wanted really to stand out a bit, we could have added a little bit more to it, but that's fine. All right, so let me Control Z to bring it back before I broke it apart. All right. If we feel that, yeah, see, some of this looks a little choppy. So you come in and fix some of this stuff, because that's one thing that what it does sometimes, it'll add a lot of nodes or some of these unnecessary stitch angles. All right. What you can do, some of this stuff you could delete, like a lot of these nodes, because sometimes it's not necessary. Okay, you can just put this bit, or if you want to select a bunch of nodes at the same time, you just select one, shift, select the next one, and you'll select more than one. All right. That's the only drawback. Anytime we do anything with automatic settings, it's gonna add um, a bunch of nodes. So we don't need all these stitch angles. Puts us like a ton of stitch angles. Okay, you can just go like right here. And if you want this to go out a bit, round this up a bit. Right, so everything is editable. All right, bam, cool. So that was the main thing right there. Okay, is was how to create these details, right? These sharp details right here. All right, let me now we ended here. Let me make this black. All right, and then one thing that you'll see in the design, the download that I have, okay, with some of these, I increased the pool compensation a tad bit. All right, and that's just a little like my secret sauce that I do. Sometimes, let me see where we're at right here. All right, 1.3. It's doable. Okay, it's doable. Not bad. Okay, I think that was really the smallest part of our design. But sometimes you could, instead of putting a 0.17 pool comp, you could just put a like a zero point 0.3 or a zero point 0.4, just to give it a little bit more umph. Okay, it's very subtle. Okay, you can kind of see how it goes from here, from 0.17 to 0.1 to 0.3. Okay, very subtle, but sometimes it'll just blend everything together even better. All right, so with the click of a button, you kind of saw how it just kind of broke stuff apart. Okay, made it a little bit easier for us. Okay, here we manually, right? We manually individually created it, and then we added them together. Then here, this one would have been a little bit more complex, and we saved a lot of times because we started all the way down here and we took it all the way up. All right, now let me just do this part. Okay, so you can see here I have a triangle, meaning this is where that file. Actually, let's stitch this out. I mean, let's trace this. Let me see. Trims, one trim. So I'm where I want to be at. Okay, I'm where I want to be at. So we'll put it at this speed. So does this bottom part first. It's gonna go all the way to the right side. Bam. Now it's gonna shift over. Bam. Right. Right. Now it's ready. It's ready to go down to the bottom part. Something that I want to highlight here. Like here, like this little detail right here, right? We might not even see it, right? So if we have a situation like this, um, just kind of delete some of these unnecessary ones. You could adjust stuff just so, right? Just so the details can be seen. Right. You just, that's just something, if you feel like some of the details is being lost in the whole big picture, you could kind of make it stand out by. But that's just the drawback, is that H, like here, you see all these nodes? Just get rid of whatever nodes you don't need. Okay. If you are going to make changes. Like here, we can just pop these out a bit. Right. Just if there's a certain piece of detail you wanted to emphasize a little bit more. Right. H. Or it's easy to edit, or it makes more sense to edit with the live view. So you can kind of see, you can see how it actually looks like. Yeah. All right, cool. Then here, okay, here, usually the way I do it, um, I'll just do it, I'll break it up in piece by piece. All right. Actually, this one has so many things going on. I'll just use that turning complex again. All right, we'll do one more round. This turning complex. Mm, It's doing it quicker. It might be different from the file that I have. Okay. Oh, push enter too quick. Hold on. My bad. Let's try that again. Let's try it from this corner right here. Just so I can wrap around. Ooh. Oh, hold on. I went on the other side. I was so zoomed in that I lost my place. All right, we'll just do it from right there, all right? Bang. And really, the software does a real good job breaking the objects into pieces. See how it's gonna do it here. And something that I what I like to do when it breaks it up, I like to study what it did, because some ways that it breaks it up, like, it makes sense. Right, we're gonna set our stitch angles. This is the fun part. Right, you just gotta kind of picture how you want it to be looking. Right, like this one, it's just going all over the place. And it does a good job breaking it up. Like right here, you see how we had this, didn't trace it perfect? We could go back and fix that. All right, put these stitch angles. All right, cool. Let's see what it's gonna pop out. Right, so it looks all weird and crazy. We're gonna use the automatic knife. Bam. All right. So some good stuff. Look at that. All right. Kept this part pretty sharp. Right. Bam. That's good. Good. So we're just reviewing right here. It looks kind of iffy. Okay. Boom, boom. All right. Some stuff like this corner. Let me see. All right. This corner, it's all right. Okay. Because we're zooming in like this far, right? We're gonna kind of zoom out. Let me see how I did it on mine. Did a little different right here. All right, cool. All right, but you can kind of see how it is. So it did a pretty good job in cutting this stuff up. All right. If I try to come in here and chop it up like this, it would have taken, I would say it would have taken a little longer, but it did a pretty good job in chopping this up. All right. And then I did the same thing with the top portion. Okay. Bam. Then this is the final look. All right. Oh, hold on. All right. So you kind of see, let me see the breakdown here with the black portion. So I have this bottom part rolls right into this middle portion to the top, drops down here, walks down, does the full fill of the mouth. Okay. Then I start back up and work my way down. All right. Got a branch here. Transfers here to the eyes, to the nose, to the side, to the whiskers. Bam. 1, 2, 3. Cut. Goes to the next side. 1, 2, 3. Bam. That's the whole face portion, the black part. To the tongue, to the teeth, and to the eye here. All right. Here, let me hide others. This one I want to show you here, the eyes. This is stuff that I like to work on because the eye really deep. All right, so it's two objects. You can kind of see how it's two objects here. Okay. All right, because you can kind of see how it is right here. Right. If I just put a fill, I don't really feel that it would have the same impact that it has right here. Okay, bam. Unhide all. All right, cool. Let me, and then this is my stitch out right here. All right, bam. And then I recorded the actual stitch out when I did the test run on flats. Right, looks super fresh right here. So I changed up the color just so it could look like a traditional tiger. But you can kind of see the eye. Let me see if I can zoom in with the eye. Right, you can see how that sand stitch really pops out. All right. Let me see if we have any questions here. All right. Hey, T-Town, how you doing? Barb. All right. How's everybody doing? Let me see. Wolf Custom. Do I have a video on what height to set your presser foot for? So I kind of cheat. I cheat because my Tajima, what I use for hats, I actually did this one on the Tajima. It has a automatic presser foot. So I just dial in what size are. So this one's at 1.5 millimeters. For 3D puff, I'll type in 3 millimeters. But my Ricoma, I've never messed with the presser foot, and it does 3D puff perfect. All right. So I never had to change it because I never had any issues. Never had any issues. So I never felt that unless something wasn't coming out the way I wanted to, um, I would change. But I never had to change it. But there is ways to. I know pretty much every machine brand has a video precipice, like so many, so many. Even if it's not for your machine, they're all built pretty much the same. You could. I know some people use the the Allen key, right? You just put the Allen key, rest it, tighten it up, and do all that stuff. DJ Kev, do you provide an email? Would love to share some embroidery ideas with you and files for you to check out. Just want to add to the community. Yeah, you can email me. I'll put my email down here. All right. Now with the amount of questions I get, and sometimes there's some questions that are not easy to answer with one sentence or with a paragraph. Sometimes it's more than just writing an answer, like because there's so much variables sometimes with questions, so it's kind of hard to answer every question. So I'll put my email here if anybody wants to email me. So, uh, but you can't always guarantee an instant answer because the questions are coming in too fast. Sometimes they come in too fast where I probably have a couple minutes to answer some. Oh, cool, cool. I did put the artwork there. If you want to challenge yourself and try to digitize it like the way that I did it, compare yours with mine, or make mine, try to make your version better. Okay, because trust me, there was a couple stuff that I would change with time. If you have the time, then you can make changes. All right, because there is no such thing as the perfect digitized file. You can always make something better. All right, Doug, how you doing? Oh, all right, man. And then good question, Ariels. On a scale, how hard of a design is this? 6. I would say this design. So let me pull this up. If we were to look at this design right here, if we had to, if we had to, if we had to digitize this 100% by the way it's designed, then definitely a 10. It's 10, right? We're gonna have to think outside the box. We're gonna have to mimic some stuff, and do some crazy stuff with it. Okay, we'll probably increase the trims. We would definitely increase some trims, um, right? But kind of like sometimes we use our own judgment and kind of decide what do we want to keep, what do we want to omit. Okay, because sometimes having it 100% by the drawing, it probably isn't the best idea. All right, all right. Good question. I like that one. Cool. Kingsbury. Happy holidays to everybody else. Yep. Today is Christmas Eve, right? So today's filed. So this hat right here. Now, I wouldn't recommend you putting this file in a hat unless you have your hat uh, set for if you kind of increased your parameters. Okay, this is a 3-inch height hat. Okay, um, definitely try it out on a flat. But what I'm gonna show you the video. I recorded a video today. Okay, and I was trying to get these little details that that I always like to look at when I'm checking out the samples is something called writing the line, right? When you have two objects butting each other, right? How close are you going to have them? Or are you going to have them overlap? Okay, sometimes it's should have overlap, right? Something's going to be under, something's going to be on top, right? And then when that top part, that top sand stitch comes and covers it, right? How you want to ride that line where it's nice and clean. And it's something that I'll show. So tomorrow for actual Christmas Eve day, I'll post that video where you can see the stitch out of this. And it's like the best part of digitizing is seeing everything come together and writing that line where you have two fills butting up to each other, nice and good. And then you have that sand stitch just writing that line on top of it, covering it, bringing that design together. All right. So something like this, right? I know I did promise last week where I want to just put videos where there's no talking, it's just me digitizing. Okay, so you can see the actual process where I'm like, it's like a madman. Okay, that's how I look like a madman. Um, putting stuff up, change my mind. Okay, it's not like, don't think that I'm just digitizing this all, um, in one shot and from beginning to end, and there's no change. I go back, I look at it, I make some educated decisions. I'm like, you know what? Let's put this, that. Okay, for example, here I was wondering when do I put that red sand stitch? Okay, that was the big question that I had. Where do I put that red one? Really, since I had that global underlay, I had my fabric spread stretched out. Okay, so it was safe to put that red sand stitch as my second object. But to put it as my first one without a global underlay, okay, it probably would have affected the design. All right, so that's what I do want to put. I do want to start showing that where I know digitizing. Okay, I know digitizing is not like the glamorous part of YouTube, right? Yeah, it's gonna take hits. Like those videos are gonna take hits because who wants to see it? It's only the crazy embroiderers that are really into embroidery are gonna watch that, but it's all good. All right, I'll take those hits, but I think if you see that side of digitizing, I'll call it the ugly side of digitizing. All right, where it's like your brain is really getting challenged. All right, I want to show you guys that side. Especially, I'm gonna look for more designs like this where it's pretty challenging. Okay, because we already know the corporate logos. That's too easy. All right, it's too easy. We already know click, 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 bam, bam, stitch angles. Those are ready to go. Right, these are the ones that are really gonna challenge us. So when a actual customer comes with your normal everyday logo, right? You've been there, done that. You already tried all the hard stuff. Now you're getting rewarded with easy type logos, right? But every now and then, people send you stuff. They'll send you like some crazy um, design, right? But if you already challenge yourself beforehand, if you already shot your free throws, already trained, you already know what to do, what to look out for, and really what to expect with certain designs. Okay. All right. I do want to thank everybody for hanging out today. All right. Make sure you hit that like. The file is in the description. Download it, dissect it, measure it, stitch it out, make any changes, anything that make it better if you can. All right. Put it on something. If you stitch it out, let me know what you think. I always accept feedback. I'm all about feedback. Makes us better and it challenges us. All right. So next week, okay, we're back on Sundays next week. So next Sunday, Sunday at 7 a.m. Pacific. All right. Next week is going to be the episode, the last one before the New Year's. All right, so I'm definitely going to have some good stuff for you guys. All right, look out for the actual stitch out. I'll post that tomorrow. All right, till next time. Peace, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody.